Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. This is your host, Amina Ahmed, and you're watching Muslim Network TV. Welcome back to another episode of NextGen, where we speak with today's young people, young leaders, activists, and organizers about the work that they are doing with their community. You're all watching us on Galaxy 19 satellite, MuslimNetwork.tv, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Apple TV as well. Now, today's discussion is on the new amendments that France's Senate has recently passed, banning women under the age of 18 from wearing a hijab, completely banning the burkini, religious swimsuit, or a more covering swimsuit that Muslim women wear at beaches, at the pool, also banning parents from showing any religious signs, which means that hijabi Muslim mothers would not be able to participate in their kids' extracurriculars. There is also more, right? I'm listing all these things, and it seems to not end France's Islamophobia. Women or anybody showing any religious signs will not be able to participate in a sport that is hosted by a federation or a sports association. And this is kind of just the beginning of France's Islamophobia. We've also discussed French Islamophobia before with Reem Sarah Alawand, a journalist, but this was before these new amendments have been passed in France's Senate. So to further discuss the French hijab ban, we have with us Monia Bagheera. Monia Bagheera is a social activist fighting racism and Islamophobia in France. She's a member of the political party Union of French Muslim Democrats. She's phenomenal, doing work day in and day out, fighting this ban and Islamophobia in general in France. Thank you for being here with us today.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
Walaikum assalam, Monia. And Monia, I want to start off with kind of laying a ground. How are these new amendments different from what we already have in law enacted in France today?
Well, as you said, these new amendments are trying to ban hijab for girls under the age of 18, for mothers accompanying school trips, also banning the use of burkinis in public swimming pools. So by imposing these restrictions on Muslim women, France is actually violating its obligations to universal human rights. And this bill has not come into force yet, because it has to be voted by the National Assembly. But if it is passed, the age of consent for sex will be lower than the age of consent for wearing a hijab. Therefore, women as young as 15 years old will have sexual autonomy in France, but they will not have the right to choose the symbol of their religious faith.
Now, do you think that once this does go into the National Assembly, once it's up for debate there, do you think that it will pass?
Well, most analysts say that it will not pass, but the simple fact that it is being questioned is problematic, and it is very dangerous. So a lot of organizations, more than 80 organizations in France, have decided to organize a coalition called the Front Against Islamophobia in order to collectively resist this discriminating bill.
So you are part of the Front Against Islamophobia. What work are you guys doing? What do you seek to do, right? What is your goal?
Our goal is to remind our government that it is actually violating our freedom of religion, our freedom of belief, which is guaranteed by Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was actually proclaimed by the United Nations in the General Assembly, ironically in Paris on December 10th, 1948, which says that everyone shall have the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right shall include freedom to have a religion or whatever belief of choice, and freedom either individually or collectively with others in public or private, to manifest our religion or belief in worship, observance, practice, and teaching. Our organization, the Front Against Islamophobia, has organized huge demonstrations. Thousands of Muslims marched in the streets of France to express their dissatisfaction in more than 10 cities across the country. So that's what basically we're doing. And we also started. I'm sorry.
No worries, you just cut out a bit. So you were saying that the Front Against Islamophobia, you guys have demonstrated marches of thousands of French protesters, and you were saying, continuing that you guys have been doing more. Tell us, about the Front Against Islamophobia.
Yeah, uh, we are determined to defend our freedom of thought, of conscience, and religion, and therefore our coalition is representing thousands of Muslim citizens. We have started this petition on change.org to demand the French government to withdraw the anti-separatism bill, which is clearly Islamophobic, and to withdraw as well the 2004 law forbidding hijab for schoolgirls. Sorry.
Right, and I think that just from the work that your organization is doing, we can see that the French Muslim population is completely against what is happening. They seem to be mobilized. Am I correct?
Yes. Um, we are mobilized, but some people in the Muslim community is also scared and afraid. Some girls are taken off the hijab. They choose they believe that in order to go to school to get a job, they must um, somehow stop being a Muslim outside and stop wearing the hijab. And therefore, it's problematic for us because France is supposed to be the country of human rights, country of liberty, and it says our motto: liberty, equality, and fraternity. And um, and basically, most of the human rights activists are determined, and we vow to defend our freedom, basically.
So the Muslim population in France, the majority of it is mobilized. There are some who are fearful and those who advocate for human rights. What about the rest of the French population, those who aren't Muslim, maybe, the middle class man? How does he or she feel about what is happening to Muslims in France today?
Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of support from our fellow citizens among the French society. Some people believe it's a Muslim problem, and a lot of French people vote for the far right parties because they believe that we are a threat, that Muslims are, by conflating Islam and terrorism, which has what the politicians and the media have done for a long time now. A lot of people are also afraid of being replaced. There is this crazy theory called the Great Replacement, saying that one day there will be more Muslims than non-Muslims citizens in France, and therefore uh, the French um, the French identity would be endangered and jeopardized. Um, it's very difficult to have support from non-Muslim from our non-Muslim citizens.
Right, and as the Front Against Islamophobia, are you guys doing any outreach to French citizens who might not completely support, what is happening in France? They might not, but they're a bit neutral. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who aren't taking any stance because, like you said, they believe it is a Muslim issue. Are you doing any outreach, trying to get support from these people?
Yeah, sure, we're trying, but the we're facing a terrible pandemic, and
Right.
with it's kind of complicated. We're under curfew
Yeah.
and the lockdown as well, and we have social issues with the yellow vest uh, protesters, etc. So it's pretty complicated for us now.
Right. So I understand. At the moment, I think all activists, all people who work in any advocacy can tell you that, the work never stops. But because of the pandemic, I'm sure that it has been impacted. Monia, we will continue to speak about your work and the implications of this hijab ban right after our short break. You're all watching us on Muslim Network TV, Galaxy 19 satellite, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Apple TV as well. We'll be right back.
Billboard. popping up all over the country within
Our neighbors don't realize that Muslims are absolutely opposed to ISIS.
Salam. My name is Abdul Malik Mujahid. I'm an imam in Chicago.
16 shots! No peace! No justice! No peace!
So how do we bring up the energy which can really have an impact on the world? You need to build bridges of understanding among people, and we need to have America moving forward.
That lesson learned had brought the strength of humanity to America, which is the diversity.
Mujahid Talks, only on Muslim Network TV. Faithfully connected.
Welcome back to NextGen. I'm here with Monia Bagheera speaking about France's hijab ban. Now, Monia, for young girls who are younger, who are younger than 18, what does this mean for them who want to wear the hijab? I started wearing the hijab at a young age as well, completely my choice. And I know my friends, my sisters, and obviously everyone has a different experience with hijab. But many of the people around me, wore it from their own choice and wore it before they turned 18. What does this mean for young Muslim women in France?
Well, for most young women who choose to wear the hijab, it's a personal choice, and unfortunately, in France, a lot of politicians and journalists in the media consider that they are being manipulated by their fathers or their husbands or whoever, and then they believe that they have to protect those girls who are being manipulated, refusing to admit that some of them have chosen, and it's really their choice. We live in a country where everybody is free to do whatever they want, to wear whatever garment or outfit they want, and it's just a pretext, to attack the same minority.
Right. And I think that belief that many hijabi women are oppressed or forced to wear hijab and the hijab means oppression and suppression of Muslim women stems from a lot of Islamophobic thought. Do you think that the left wing, the rise of the left wing, the rise of the right wing, my apologies, in France, you spoke about how many of the French middle class also support the right wing today. So does that correspond with the rise of Islamophobia?
Yes. The terrorist attacks that occurred in France increased Islamophobia, and somehow they needed to find to target it at how shall I say? Because French intelligence has failed preventing those terrorist attacks, they started pointing at us as if we were responsible somehow for those terrorist attacks, and they pretend that all the terrorists are Muslims, therefore Muslims are potential terrorists. And some people consider us here in France as the enemy within, as if they had the right to hold us accountable for those terrorist attacks, which is ridiculous, of course. And we have the impression that history is repeating itself. In the 1930s here in France, the Jewish population was considered as the enemy within. And some politicians have used this expression as well for Muslims. We are responsible for all the problems we're facing here in France. But, it's just what we call Islamodiversion, using Islam and Muslims as a diversion to not to talk about the real issues, the most important issues, our priorities. Our priorities should be the pandemic and the social crisis and all ecology problems, stuff like that. Global warming. I don't know. There are a lot of issues that are absolutely more important than the hijab.
Right. And I think that, like you said previously, that, the hijab is a very personal choice to many women, but it seems that politicians are scapegoating Muslims instead of addressing the real issues. We actually had that obviously happen here in the United States post 9/11. And, what you're saying is taking me, to that, the fact that Muslims here were also scapegoated. So to our audience, who is American, they can probably relate to living in a post 9/11 world and being Muslim and being seen as the enemy. And obviously, this was a way to divert attention from, the real issues here in America as well. And we see that happening in France right now. But in France, do you feel that there is enough awareness about what is happening, or French issues? Do you feel that people around the world are aware of what's happening in France?
Well, more and more people are aware of what's going on in France thanks to the social media, social networks, etc. But um, I fear that it's not well known enough because France is supposed to be the country, as I said, the country of human rights. And whenever bills, Islamophobic bills, have been voted here in France, other countries around Europe have passed the same laws. I'm talking about the ban of burqa, which was voted in 2010 in France, and then in 2013 it was in Belgium, and then in Spain, and then in the Netherlands, etc. So we are aware that France has a responsibility around the world because our country pretends to be the country of human rights, and nowadays they are actually violating our rights, our basic rights. And I don't see a lot of people really taking the situation seriously. I mean, there was a boycott campaign that was launched in Muslim countries, trying to to force France to withdraw these Islamophobic bills. But so far we haven't noticed any effects, any results. So we're hoping that we will get more support worldwide.
And I hope so too. What do you think people around the world can do to support you, to uplift your voices, to amplify your voices in the work that you do? What can we do here in America?
Well, first, you are helping us because you're talking about this issue. So thank you for having me again. Really, it's really important, and it's you can share the petition, for example, and maybe by lobbying, or I don't know, talking to politicians about foreign policy and the relationships between our countries. So maybe if other I don't know, maybe if other countries, the Turkish president has tried to do it, and other presidents in other countries have tried to do it by supporting French Muslims, then maybe our government, our president, will be forced to consider that what he's doing is actually violating the human rights. So we
Right.
definitely need you and your support.
So next time we talk to our politicians about anything regarding foreign policy, which we tend to do here a lot, I think that the Muslim population in America is extremely mobilized. We're connected politically. So hopefully we can bring this issue up as well and let our politicians know that we are dissatisfied with France, which, like you said before, claims to uphold human rights and is not doing that whatsoever. Rather, it's doing the complete opposite by suppressing Muslim voices. And like you said, also sign that petition. We have linked it here. So hopefully, it takes less than a minute to sign a petition. It's not difficult at all. So hopefully to everyone that is watching, if you can just quickly go and sign that petition, that would be amazing. But lastly, Monia, time flies when I'm, discussing with you. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. But I want to ask, Monia, do you think that these laws are just the beginning of what France wants to do, of their action against Muslims? We're also seeing, increased surveillance against younger Muslims as well. Do you think that this is just the start?
I hope it's not just the start, but unfortunately, we're very pessimistic because anything is possible. We wouldn't have believed that there could be camps for Muslims anywhere in the world in 21st century, but there are camps today in China for Uyghur Muslims. And we have that politician who proposed a bill to create internment camps for some people who were suspected of being related to terrorist attacks whatsoever. And, you know, as I said, history is repeating itself. And during the 1930s, the Jews were sent to camps, you know, and they were killed massively. And we don't know what might happen. So, yeah, we are definitely worried and concerned about what will happen next. That's why we need to say no right now and to fight for our to defend our rights and our freedom, our dignity.
Yeah, and hopefully it won't get to that point, and we have to take action from now, like you said, because if we are silent, then, like you said, it's just going to get worse. So thank you, Monia, for being here with us. Thank you for sharing the work that you do.
Very welcome. Thank you.
And thank you to our audience for tuning in to NextGen. We'll be back next week, actually speaking about Ramadan and how young people can participate in Ramadan, gain all the blessings of Ramadan while participating in school and all the other things, extracurriculars that they do. So thank you all for watching, and we'll be back next week. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.